Thank you for the restart. The art was the key part. The heart, determination, liberation is the reward. What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz, the adult. Alright, man, look. This will be my esports boxing club, ESBC, all you need to know video. If you don't know, I was invited along with 5 other amazing boxing game enthusiasts and content creators by Will Kinsler, the director of global communications for Steel City Interactive, to play ESBC over the course of 2 days. I played ESBC for over 20 hours, spoke directly to Ash Habib, the founder and studio head at Steel City Interactive, so we asked many questions, and now I get to share those answers, gameplay details, plans for the game, my experience with the game, my expectations, along with the release date expectations, and everything I gathered while experiencing ESBC with you. Please like the video if you appreciate the content, and subscribe for more videos. Okay, so let's first discuss the presentation and graphics of the game. Look, ESBC has, as expected, the best graphics in boxing game history, which is not the highest standard since Fight Night Champion is the latest real boxing game for boxing enthusiasts, and it was released 2 console generations ago in 2011. With that said, I was totally taken aback and amazed by how authentic and true to life the fighters looked. Like, look, Terrence Crawford looked exactly like Terrence Crawford, and he moved with the personality of Crawford, embodying his skill, moves, and gestures, giving the player an authentic Terrence Crawford experience. Even while playing against Terrence Crawford, I focused more on being victorious because the confidence of the real Terrence Crawford was depicted properly in the game. And it wasn't only Terrence Crawford who looked amazing and authentic. Every fighter was true to form. Now, we were only allowed to play with 11 fighters of this massive ESBC roster. The fighters were Kell Brook, Terrence Crawford, Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward, Connor Benn, Carl Froch, Caleb Plant, Joe Lewis, Rocky Marciano, Deontay Wilder, and Tyson Fury. And all of them looked authentic. But to grade how good the graphics are, with Fight Night Champion being so old, I had to compare it to EA Sports UFC 4. And to make it a more proper comparison, I compared EA Sports UFC 4's Tyson Fury to Esports Boxing Club's Tyson Fury. And though both looked great, there was really no comparison. ESBC's Tyson Fury was simply better. Fury's facial features and full body was scanned with extreme detail in ESBC. His trunks were noticeably and authentically a tad too high, just like in real life. Everything from the fighter's tattoos, hair, skin, bone structure, mechanics, and attire were properly and authentically done in ESBC. Now, as for the presentation, it was communicated to us that we were playing an alpha build that was actually not the latest rendition of the game. So many things were missing that are promised to be included. Though later described to us in a meeting with Ash Habib, the ring entrances were not included in our build. The crowd was glitchy and floating around the arena at times. The cornermen spent much of their time phased into the ring itself. The ref, Kenny Bayless, would leave the ring at times or totally disappear. At times, your fighter would just fall or do some funky movement, which gave us all a good laugh. So we totally understood that this was an alpha rendition, so glitches like these during the development process was expected. But at the release, not so much. But it was communicated to us by Ash and Will that ring entrances, true-to-life stadiums, commentary, and most things seen during the life of a boxing match will be included by release. But we'll talk expectations later. Now, let's get to the heart and soul of any game, and that's the gameplay. Look, obviously this was my focus because the meat and potatoes or gameplay, look, if that isn't good, then the game isn't good. All of the bells and whistles in the world wouldn't be able to satisfy the 12-year hunger of boxing enthusiasts starving for an authentic boxing game. So first, let me speak generally, like, how did the game feel? Well, here's the biggest thing everyone must understand. This game is not, and I repeat, this game is not Fight Night Champion. So much so that if you play it like Fight Night Champion, you will be trash. I repeat, totally trash in the game. Like many of you, I played Fight Night Champion religiously for years, so I couldn't stop, no matter how much I tried subconsciously playing ESBC like Fight Night Champion. The controls were very similar, so the muscle memory of the hands couldn't help but to do things that made me successful in Fight Night Champion, and none of the Fight Night Champion rules applied here. The fighters moved at a pace more true to life, so stepping around your opponent to create traps was more authentic and couldn't be exploited. Combinations I pulled off in Fight Night Champion worked, but only if the other player was playing sloppy. The gameplay of ESBC is far more sophisticated and authentic, with a pace and rhythm closer to real life. Look, it got to the point where I expressed to the developers, Ash and Will, that this is the first boxing game I've ever played. Others were games about boxing. There were no rules or moves or actions to this game that had a counter. Example, like, in order to stop this, you must do this. No, as expressed by Ash Habib during our meeting, the idea is to include fighters true to form with skills and tools they use, and with as many boxing tools possible, and it's up to you to apply these tools properly with your fighter to be victorious. For example, if your gameplay style is to be a distance fighter, you should be actually less effective with Rocky Marciano. And if you play with Caleb Plant like a slugger, you'll be giving yourself a huge disadvantage. And here's why. 1. All attributes will be true to the boxer. Though the attributes aren't complete in the rendition we played, the strength, stamina, power, speed, etc. will be very impactful according to Team ESBC. 2. Every fighter will have special traits. Traits will be that extra thing that makes a fighter unique. And traits will not be positive things only. Traits will be things such as a glass chin, power with certain punches like Wilder having a power right hand trait, iron chin, a trait for fighters like Fury, who has proven to be difficult to knock out. Having that unique ability to get up time after time again, that would be a trait. And traits will be earned during your career mode with your created fighter. If your last 3 fights ended with you getting KO'd, you will earn a glass chin trait, but more about career mode later. 3. Footwork. Footwork is very important. It was very apparent that the distance was important and can be controlled. Staying away from your opponent or staying close to your opponent seemed to be the true key to being victorious. If your fighter had an effective jab, can move around quicker, or just had more of the elements to be a slick or mobile fighter, it was apparent that your game plan should be to fight from the outside. And if your fighter was the opposite, you should do just that. Or if your fighter was more balanced like Conor Ben, then yes, do a combination of both. But most importantly, you were provided many tools to do so. Here's the tools that were provided and the tools us content creators felt were missing and asked to be included. So, provided. 1. Stepping forward, back, and side to side by flicking the left toggle in the direction you want it to go. You can also do this while punching, allowing for a stepping jab, right hand, lead hook, or check hook. But once again, this is not Fight Night. It wasn't done in the Fight Night Champion way. It was done totally different and more authentic. 2. Every punch from the jab to the uppercut are included. 3. Planting your feet and leaning away from your opponent. 4. Slipping an attack, pushing the toggle in and in the direction desired, allowing for an animation where your fighter would dip down or to the desired direction while moving. 5. Blocking. Listen, blocking had 2 different modes. There's a casual and hardcore mode. Now, we were only allowed to play the casual mode, which generally blocked the head when commanded and generally blocked the body when commanded. Hardcore will allow you to block each side of your face and body, which is necessary due to the damage and the physics-based system. According to Ash Habib, and not the rendition I played, everything takes damage. Both sides and the center of your body, both sides of your face, chin, and center of face, and even your limbs take damage, which affects your blocking power and speed of your punches. The rendition I played had the damage indicators, but didn't work properly. The body was far more vulnerable than the head, taking damage sooner and almost impossible to avoid once the damage was too great. But it was communicated to us after we complained with a huge amount of dissatisfaction. We went crazy. It was communicated to us that this issue has already been fixed and balanced in the latest build. Now, the physics-based system was glorious. Punches didn't land in the same place with the same impact when commanded. Even when blocking, your opponent can punch around the block. Punches would bounce off the opponent's glove and slip through their guard, partially landing. There were many moments of partially landed punches and clean punches, so I really like the variety provided by the physics-based system. 6. You can also punch while blocking. Simply holding the block while pressing a punch command allowed you to punch while your opposite hand blocked. The limitation here is you can only block punch with a jab or straight, no hooks or uppercuts, at least not in the rendition I played. 7. Countering with the flash animation was included, but not like Fight Night Champion. The counter window was more natural and authentic. There were no animations or screen shifting to prompt you to take advantage of the counter window. All counters were in real time, and it was up to you to see it and take advantage. Yes, you can set a trap and open a counter through movement, but there were no indicator prompting you that you were successful in causing the trap, which was preferred by me. That little difference made every fight feel more authentic and not two players playing to the counter window, if you know what I mean. You can also string together a counter combination where you will see multiple flashes in a row with each punch landed. Also, the flash animation isn't caused only by a counter punch. It's caused by good punches, period. If you land a punch when a fighter has low stamina, you get rewarded by the flash. If you landed a punch that really affected the fighter, yep, a flash. 8. You can also cancel punches, which gives a feint animation. 9. You can modify your punches for harder impact, which didn't move slower. The hard punches moved at the same speed, just a different animation, right? Like the fighter will pull the punch back further as a wind-up, indicating a hard punch is coming. 10. You can string together combinations which look authentic due to the punching mechanics of the fighters, but they didn't feel authentic. Look, this is what I mean. Like, there was an unreal feeling, like a delay response to the button commands. Now, we were told by Ash that it felt more natural using the right analog, which to me was a bit disappointing to hear. Let's face it, it's just more fun and more desirable to use buttons opposed to the analog for punch commands. Also, if you want the option to use either or both, one definitely shouldn't be more intuitive than the other. That was like a huge disappointment for me, and we stressed, like desperately stressed, that we needed that to be improved. 11. Free movement was also an option included. Look, if you press up on the D-pad, it will put your fighter in free movement, which allowed for relaxed animations while moving around the ring. Your fighter would shift their feet a certain way, drop their hands, and do signature moves of that fighter, adding more personality to the fight. Like, I literally leaned in the corner with Tyson Fury with free movement and performed this iconic moment, also performed by the greatest Muhammad Ali. And it was also effective. It wasn't just animations, it was pretty effective. Like, it was effective in making your fighter less stiff and more capable of confusing your opponent when trying to escape or find angles. The downfall is you take more damage in free movement because your body is relaxed and not properly prepared to take a punch. 12. You can switch stance from orthodox to southpaw and vice versa. In the rendition we played, this was a capability and done freely and easily by every fighter. But in the final rendition, we were told that not every fighter will be as good fighting in their opposite stance, and some may not be able to switch at all, making fighters like Terrence Bud Crawford special in this regard. 13. There's even like a little time after the bell, like after the round ends, to get an extra lick in. But be careful, you will be warned, deducted a point, and eventually disqualified. 14. All of the things that I've listed so far, yeah, they all affect the stamina. And with low stamina, you take more damage, raising the probability of a flash, knockdown, knockout, or being badly hurt. Once again, the stamina was not balanced in the rendition I played and was being worked on and tweaked, but expected to be balanced and properly done in the final rendition. 15. Here's a key factor in ESBC. If you think you're too hurt to survive a knockdown, yes, you can take a knee in ESBC. A knee allows for you to rest while being in better shape to recover. Though it counts as a knockdown, I can definitely see this as a smart option if things are getting too dangerous. And 16. When you're knocked down, the minigame to get up was very easy to understand and became easier to achieve through practice. But if your fighter's stamina is too low, you're too hurt, or your fighter is just not that type of dog in the ring, then that'll dictate the difficulty of getting up, or if you can get up at all. Now, here's a list of things that were not provided in the rendition we played. 1. No punching while leaning. I attempted to do this many times during perfect moments for this option, and it wasn't there. 2. The clinch was included, but very glitchy, so most of us didn't even try it. 3. The inside fighting option was not included but will be in the game. It was communicated to us that the inside fighting will have a different punch configuration and work more as a mini game. Just like how UFC has a ground game featuring like different mechanics, I think it's gonna be something like that. 4. When you had a fighter hurt, you were given an adrenaline boost, which did nothing for your fighter. When I had someone hurt, my fighter didn't move faster or was any more efficient than normal. It was just too easy for my opponent to survive. Now, this was also communicated, and I'm expecting this to change. 5. The uppercut was included in this rendition, but was totally ineffective to the head, missing the mark over 90% of the time. This was communicated and being worked on. 6. A mini game in the corner in between rounds to help recover your fighter with water, cuts, or swellings is not included in the game. All of those things will be managed by the effectiveness of your team. For example, if you have an average or below average cut man, you will be going into the next round very worried. This will definitely be a major factor in career mode when you choose your trainers and cut men, but we'll get to that later. 7. No accidental headbutts or low blows. Illegal blows are intentional commands. Now, here's what we know so far about the career mode. Look, we know very little. The intentions were to have us content creators and gamers play the game focusing only on the in-ring experience. But of course, a few things slipped out, and here they are. 1. One of the first things I noticed was the create a fighter option. Though it was grayed out, I saw create a fighter, coach, or cut man, which made me assume that you may be able to create and personalize your entire team when starting your career. I'm assuming you can just create a fighter if you want, but if you want to create an entire team from scratch and build them all together, it seems like that may just be an option. 2. As mentioned before, the attributes you give your fighter aren't the only things that make up your fighter. Your play style and career helps shape your fighters through traits. If you are KOing other fighters with a left hook often, you may just pick up a trait, or if you've been successful getting up when knocked down, you may just acquire the trait that makes it more probable for you to get up. Or if you've been getting KO'd, then yes, the glass chin trait. Like I said, the game was in alpha, so the head-to-head fighting was available. But I did see the menu, which included career mode, create a fighter, cut man or coach, online mode, and live current events. Like, I literally saw a poster of Canelo versus Bivol on the zone. It was like in the corner. So I'm thinking, look, as this game, like when this game is released, we will see the current events in the corner, which can educate people, have them know more about what's going on currently in boxing and not just playing the game. So I think that's awesome. Now, let's talk scoring and how a fight is judged, or what wins a fight. In Fight Night Champion, the straight right hand and uppercut were the rewarded punches to win a round, which calls for fights in Fight Night Champion to be more of a game to exploit the right or uppercut. Those who can do this the best were the best players. Make it for a fight with two of the best players look more like an arcade game than an authentically stylized boxing match. In ESBC, there were two key factors to win a round, and ultimately the fight by decision. 1. Copy boxes in the game, so overall punches landed and percentages of punches landed is key. But what is even more important than that is the second factor. 2. There will be 40 judges in ESBC. All 40 judges reward fighters for different things. They all have their rules for what wins a round. And for every fight, a random combination of 3 are chosen, and you will have no idea of who they are until after the fight. This way, you're just fighting to your fighter's best ability and not trying to exploit any one idea. I noticed while playing the game, it made for more authentic looking fights. So let me grade this game. Listen, here is my grade for the rendition I played for over 20 hours and my takeaway of the game, just my general ultimate takeaway of the game. My grade for the rendition I played is a C. Now, this isn't a grade that reflects my expectations. It's the grade that I'll give it if this alpha rendition, without the glitches, was the game to be released. The body damage was OP and was being exploited the entire time. In every fight, someone had to spam the body to end the fight. The uppercut to the head being completely useless was annoying. The stamina to health balance was off. The no real boost adrenaline when someone was hurt, well, that felt unrewarding. The punch response to the button commands was painful. And the game being optimized for analog players was disappointing. But after speaking to all these things and repeatedly complaining about them from fight to fight, it became apparent that not only did we as content creators and gamers got our point across, but many times it was communicated to us that the latest rendition of the alpha already resolved most of these complaints. And they gave us an earlier rendition just to confirm that Steel City Interactive is going the right direction. So with that being said, I expect when the game is released that it'll be an A+ due to the great foundation they already have in place and the direction they are going. Look, my takeaway was this. It was very apparent that this will be the first authentic boxing game ever made. I mean, that's just my opinion. Why? Because when the game was played at its very best, which is playing to the style of the fighter you choose, the game looked and felt like an authentic boxing match. Allow me to quote Concept Reese, who was invited to Steel City Interactive home base in the UK to play the game against Study. He said, "I could not beat Study because I'm a gamer and he has real experience in boxing." Now that is just music to the ears of boxing enthusiasts and let you know how good this boxing game really is and the direction ESBC is going. Look, I know what you all thinking, right? When is the release date? When would ESBC be released to the public? And to be honest, I do not know for sure. They did not give us a release date, but after experiencing the game and playing the game for over 20+ hours and all the information that I was given, I can give my best guesstimation of the game because I want this game just like you do. So, in understanding that the rendition that we played was not the latest rendition, right? There are actually a few renditions ahead of the rendition we played. And we only experienced head-to-head. The online mode, the career stuff, all those things, the creative player, all those things are being developed simultaneously. So the game is like in pieces, right? And after talking to the founder, Ash Habib, he looked extremely confident. He looked very poised and very happy. I was getting the feeling that he knew that the game was very, very, very close to being complete. Or at least he was on the right track. My guesstimation for the release date is late this year. I'm thinking somewhere around December, late this year. Now that concludes this video. Shout out to the content creators involved, Boxer Fanatical, Concept Reese, King Juice, Study, and the Coach's Corner. Thank you to Ash Habib, Will Kinsler, and the devs of Steel City Interactive for being great hosts and allowing for this. And a special thank you to the special guests, Todd Grisham, Sergio Mora, and Showtime Sean Porter for showing up. It was amazing meeting you guys. Please comment below your thoughts. I will be hosting a Q&A shortly, so be prepared for that live stream. Thanks for watching ShowBizz, little adult. I'm out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Esports Boxing Club. Thank you, thank you, thank you.